If you've lived in Texas long enough, you've heard tales of freak hail the size of baseballs, wildfires racing across the plains, and heat waves that turn highways into shimmering mirages. But nothing prepared the people of a quiet town in North Texas for what happened in late June of 2011. On a clear, blistering morning, neighbors began stumbling out of their homes, rubbing their eyes, unable to focus on the world in front of them. Colors washed out, buildings looked blurred, street signs dissolved into smudges, and within a single hour, dozens of residents reported that their vision had dimmed, as if someone had turned down the lights on the entire town. This is the story of the Texas community that went blind, all at once, and the mystery that still shadows them today. The town itself, which we'll call Red Oak Hills at the request of its residents, sits in a dry stretch between Wichita Falls and Abilene. It's the kind of place with a single gas station, a family-run diner that closes at 2 p.m., and a water tower that's been repainted so many times it could tell its own story. In 2011, Red Oak Hills had just shy of 1,200 people. Ranching, a little drilling activity, a school district so small the football team sometimes played 8-man ball. Life was quiet, maybe too quiet. But Texas summers? Those are always loud. Loud with cicadas, with cracking heat, with the rattle of old AC units fighting for dear life. And June 2011 was blisteringly hot, even by Texas standards. It started at 7:23 a.m. A woman named Linda Rayburn, a retired teacher, called the sheriff's office complaining that she couldn't see right. She reported halos around objects, then blurring, then darkness around the edges. The operator assumed it was a stroke. 5 minutes later, 2 more calls came in. By 8 a.m., 14 people had phoned emergency services saying the same thing. "My eyes, something's wrong. It's like a fog coming in. Everything is fading." By noon, that number climbed to over 50 residents, nearly 5% of the town. Imagine that. You wake up in your home, you go to make coffee, and suddenly your world is dissolving into a smear of light and shadow. County health officials raced in. The first thought was environmental contamination, a chemical spill, a gas leak, something airborne. But hazmat teams found nothing, not a trace of unusual compounds in the air, soil, or water. Next theory, heat-induced dehydration. But victims ranged from indoor office workers to ranchers, from children to the elderly. Hydration levels didn't correlate. Third theory, and the one the state was quick to push, mass psychogenic illness, a community-wide panic event where symptoms spread socially, not medically. But there was one huge problem with that explanation. People began losing vision before the first public announcements, before rumors, before fear had a chance to spread. Something real had happened. Every small Texas town has its stories, and Red Oak Hills was no different. There was the old petroleum engineer who swore a forgotten drilling accident in the 70s poisoned the groundwater. There was the tale of a chemical plant that operated just outside town in the 1950s with missing records and whispered lawsuits. And then there was the long-held belief among older residents that the land itself had a bad wind, a phrase borrowed from Comanche oral history, referring to certain plains, winds believed to carry illness or blindness. But these weren't just stories. Some residents claimed the 2011 event wasn't the first time something like this had happened, only the first time it struck so many at once. Within 48 hours, the Centers for Disease Control set up a temporary base at the local high school gym. Eye specialists from Dallas and Houston were flown in. The findings were chilling: corneal swelling, pupil unresponsiveness to light, temporary retinal dysfunction, no common cause. Nearly every victim recovered within 72 hours, but none of them recovered the memory of what triggered the event. One detail stood out. Every patient described a sensation just before the vision loss, a pressure, as if the air thickened for a brief moment, a pressure no instrument ever detected. The puzzle finally took a turn when a meteorologist from Texas Tech reviewed the atmospheric data from that morning. She found an anomaly, a sudden sharp shift in air pressure lasting less than 3 minutes that passed directly over Red Oak Hills. It was too localized to be a storm, too brief to be natural, too concentrated to be random. Some suggested it was a sonic event from military aircraft. Others whispered about energy tests conducted out in the West Texas oil fields. Official agencies denied everything. But the pressure shift lined up perfectly with the first reports of vision loss. By the end of the week, the incident was over. Life went back to normal. School started in the fall. Ranchers tended cattle. The diner reopened. But Red Oak Hills changed. People grew quieter, suspicious of outsiders, unwilling to revisit the event. Some families moved away. Others insisted the town was fine. The state sealed parts of the investigation. The CDC never released a final cause, and Red Oak Hills faded back into Texas obscurity, just a dot on the map. To this day, researchers debate what hit Red Oak Hills. 1. Atmospheric pressure microburst, a rare event, but no known case has ever caused mass vision loss. 2. Industrial chemical release possible, but no samples ever confirmed it. 3. Sonic or electromagnetic exposure, unproven, controversial, but consistent with reported symptoms. 4. Neuropsychological chain reaction, the official favorite, but it doesn't fit the timing. 5. A local geological event. Some geologists believe underground gas interactions could trigger neurological symptoms. And then there are those who say the land simply reminded people of something ancient, something the Comanche warned about long before the town ever existed. Red Oak Hills stands today just as it did before 2011, a small Texas town under a big Texas sky. You can drive through it and never know the fear that once swept across its streets, the panic in people's voices, the way entire families held hands hoping their world wouldn't go completely black. Most mysteries in the U.S. leave breadcrumbs. This one didn't. And maybe that's why people still talk about it. Not loudly, but quietly, the way Texans discuss things that get under their skin. Because for one day in 2011, a town went blind, and no one can say with certainty why.
Welcome to the History of United States YouTube channel. My name is Clyde Chester, and I'm 68 years old American. Please subscribe my YouTube channel for more history of United States.